Hi, my name is Lauren Volk, and I am an Eberly Writing Studio tutor. And today we're going to be learning how to paraphrase and summarize. So all of the slides I just skipped are actually on a different video. If you want to learn more about plagiarism, you can watch that video. And that also gives you some information about the Eberly Writing Studio. But right now we're going to be talking about paraphrasing and summarizing. So paraphrasing and summarizing are a little bit different. A paraphrase is a slightly condensed version of a quote or passage, and a summary tends to be a very condensed version of a passage. Paraphrases, I think, work better when you want to highlight specific narrow points from a source, but summaries tend to work better when you want to explain the gist of longer parts of a source, like a whole paragraph. So some of the benefits of summarizing and paraphrasing are that it helps you avoid plagiarism, it shows you know the source material well, it improves your memory, it improves comprehension, and it helps internalize ideas and apply them to other situations and contexts. So these are some steps for how to paraphrase and summarize well. You want to skim the source first, and then reread the source more closely while highlighting or underlining its main ideas and concepts. And then using your own words, you can quickly jot down a list of main ideas. And after this point, I think it helps to just put the source or the paper you're reading completely out of your line of vision and just look at your list of main ideas at that point. Then you're going to turn your list into sentences, and then you're going to put those sentences together to form a paraphrase or summary. And it helps because you don't have the source in front of you, so you won't be tempted to look back at it and copy anything from it. So how to cite an APA. This is an example of a parenthetical citation, which is just means in-text citation up at the top. In APA, you're going to do the last name, and then the year, and then the page number if you have one. So you're going to use these parenthetical citations for the first reference in a paragraph, after every direct quote, and at the end of a paragraph or right before you switch to another author's work. So the citation is actually a part of the sentence. The period goes after it, as you can see in that top example. These are some examples of what we're looking at here. So a parenthetical citation example, the correct one is at the top. The reason this one is correct, as you can see, is because you've got these authors' last names here, and then you've got your year, and then you have the period after the parentheses. You can see that the citation is not correct at the bottom because there's just the year. They don't have the author's last names, even though it's the same quote. And also they put the period before the quote. So you don't want to do that. Like I mentioned before, it is part of the sentence. Then here's an example of paraphrase. So we've got our original source text up here at the top, which you can read through that. And then we have an incorrect paraphrase right below it. So why is this incorrect? Well, number one, it's incorrect off the bat because the citation, again, is not included as part of the sentence. The period goes before it instead of after it, so that's incorrect. And also, they're not including the last names, which is also incorrect. But notice also the content of this one is different. So they're doing this thing called patchwork, and patchwork is where you basically just change out a few words, but you keep the same sentence structure of the original author and the original text, which is still plagiarism because you're passing off an idea as your own when really you're just changing out a few words. So parents who are more stressed showed a decrease in positive parenting. Well, let's look at the original source text. Parents who reported higher levels of acculturation stress showed a decrease in positive parenting. That's almost the exact same wording, except they took out a few things. And then they both use suggesting right after the comma. That's also patchwork. Then it says that outside stressors, and up here we've got external stressors. Same thing. Then it says may destroy immigrant parents' emotional outlets. Well, up here it says may deplete immigrant parents' emotional resources. Again, you've got the same sentence structure. They're just switching out a few words. And then it says causing them to have a more difficult time. And then parenting approach. You've got parenting approach up here. You've got more difficult up here. Like I said, it's basically almost the exact same words. Let's look at an example of a correct one now. So off the bat, we notice that they're not really using most of the same words. They do start with parents, but even the original source text doesn't do that. And they say assimilate, they reword some things. And the sentence structure is different. They're not using the word suggesting. They say, as a result, one can assume that the pressure to assimilate can introduce emotional woes for immigrant parents that may negatively impact their parenting abilities. That's like completely different wording and completely different sentence structure from the original source text, yet it still gets the same point across. So that's a better paraphrase. And then, obviously they've got the citation at the end, right? And then for the references example, so we've got an incorrect citation at the top. This one's actually pretty good, but there are a couple issues with it. So first of all, in the incorrect citation, in APA, you don't need this month and this day right here. You just need your year, like in the correct citation at the bottom. And then they've got the journal name in there, which is good. They've got their DOI, which is essentially the barcode for a journal. I should preface this by saying that this is specifically a reference example for a journal article. You'll have a slightly different one if you're using a book or an online article, something like that. But of course, we have guides for that you can use in the writing studio as well if you come to us. And then notice in the correct one, they include like the journal and volume and issue number right here, and also the page number. But in the incorrect citation, we don't have that. And they do need to have that, what part of the source they're using. So that's an example for that. So the main points I wanted you to get out of this is that you always document source material. Use quotes sparingly and intentionally. In APA, you don't often use quotes that often. That was redundant, I'm sorry. And then you correct summaries and paraphrases. They're going to be in your own words. And they do have to include source attribution. Even if you're not quoting the direct words of the author, you're still using their ideas. So you have to use source attribution. And then writing summaries and paraphrases will help you learn. It'll help you figure out how to put ideas into your own words instead of just patchwork like we talked about earlier. So thank you all for watching. I hope that helped. Please come to the writing studio if you have further questions. The Everly Writing Studio, that is.